Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Survivor Squared, where each week we talk about season 49 of Survivor, breaking down the ins and outs, who's off the island, who's on the island, who has immunity, who doesn't have immunity. We go through every little bit of it. Last week, we talked to Eva Erickson, broke down the premiere of the episode. You can see that on our channel. This is your first time here. Thank you for coming. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, help this channel grow. I do truly appreciate it. But today, we are talking about episode 2, Sophi versus Annie, and only one of them survived tribal. We're going to go through all the ins and outs of episode 2, but before we do it, I could not do this alone. I had to welcome back my co-host, my day one, my number one ride or die. Welcome back from London, Bailey Buffs. Come on in, Bailey.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I was so sad to have missed last week. I watched y'all talking and I shed a single tear.
I know, this was a big deal. The fact that you joined on to be the podcast, took an immediate vacation, and I replaced you with a legend of Survivor. I mean, you got to feel a little left out.
I mean, I felt a little left out and I also felt very cool. I mean, that's the best replacement I've ever had in any job in my life. So I was like, I'm cool with that. I accept it.
Well, before we go through episode 2, before we go through all the things that happened, I do want to ask, you've now seen 2 full episodes of season 49. I went over with Eva last week how we both feel about this season. Has it caught our interest at all? Do we like the people that we've seen? We've each the two of us made predictions about what this season was going to look like, and you were right immediately. You said Nicole was going to be the first person voted out. Nicole was the first person voted out. But now that you've seen 2 episodes of this wonderful season that we're going to be covering for the rest of the year here pretty much, how do you feel heading into it? What is season 49? Has it excited you yet?
Oh, absolutely. I love this cast of players so far. I think we have a lot of characters, a lot of people from different walks of life. I think the way that the tribes are set up has been really interesting so far. We're seeing a lot of tension, a lot of good vibes, auras, vibes, fire, if as they said a bajillion times this episode. I am really liking it. And I will say that was probably the number one thing I was sad about missing last week, was getting to rub in your face that I called it correctly. I just had a feeling, poor thing, I loved her. She really grew on me that episode too. She really did. I was sad to see her go, because I was like, dang, Nicole is someone I could totally go grab a beer with, hang out with. She would make me laugh so hard.
Absolutely.
But I'm really liking it so far. I'm liking some of the small introductions of new things, new challenges, new rewards, new things like that. So I'm very curious to see how it's going to keep going. But thus far, I'm strapped in. I'm really excited for this season.
I am very much enjoying it too. I was on with the Survivor Specialists last week on their YouTube show called Digging Deeper, and they are very much Survivor veterans. As if, for those people watching this that know me from my social channels, I am entering the world of Survivor. I am working through seeing all of these shows. I'm up to season 27 on my binge. I saw season 48 last year. That was my first Survivor season. This marks my second of the new era. So I am still in love with the lore of Survivor, and some people who have seen a lot of Survivor are starting to get a little bit disappointed with the lack of true villains, the lack of, everyone seems to be too nice to each other on this one. And I'm kind of biased in the way that this is still exciting to me because it is new to me. But you are, Bailey, the Survivor veteran. You are the one that has seen all of the seasons here. Do you still find this interesting? Do you still think this group of 18 now down to 16 is still drawing your attention? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, here's the thing. I love a villain the same as the next person, but if you don't have different levels of a villain, that also will get stale. If we had a Tony or whatever, Johnny Fairplay every single season, we would also get sick of it. I'd get sick of seeing a Russell every season and being just annoyed with that person from the get-go. So I like that we're having different variations of villain, and we've seen that start to come through a little bit, almost with, I mean, first girl who she just left us, Annie was starting to have a total villain arc to begin with there, and I like to get to see that different type of villain. It doesn't have to be the same. And so I hear why people think, they miss the old Survivor or whatever, but I think we're getting a lot of new aspects to it. The fact that it's shorter, I know, pisses some people off, but they don't have any rice to start with. We're watching them get exhausted so much faster. And again, we saw that in this past episode, the brain fog, the fatigue on day 5. You don't normally see that. So I I think you have to keep it fresh. For 49 seasons of a show, you can't do the same formula every time. So I personally, as a day one, 25 years watching Survivor, I'm still loving it. I'm still into it. I like to see all the new twists and turns they bring about. And I think it still honors the traditional Survivor, but it grows and evolves as well. So I'm super on board. I'm loving it.
Can I say my one big note that I think I've missed from this season that are definitely in seasons past? Because it's right there staring you in the face for the entirety of both of these episodes here, even in the logo. Why do we not theme these seasons anymore? I understand they're not moving locations. I get that. I understand how production costs have risen over the past few years, but we have the giant shipwreck tribal council. We have these two wonderful Poseidon-like immunity idols.
Yes.
Yeah. We have the ship in the logo of season 49. Just name it something. Like name it Survivor 49, anything.
Shipwrecked. Whatever. I fully agree with you. I think that's something I had in my notes that I don't know if we even talked about from our initial just thoughts about this season upcoming. I had said that, I kind of miss that. I mean, I'm also someone that loves a theme. If you've been to any of my birthday parties, I love a theme. So I fully agree. I think that Shipwreck at Tribal Council, it's one of the coolest tribal councils I've seen in a long time. I love the Poseidon. I love the Siren Mermaid. Like, I think it's so cool. And it feels like there already is a theme. We're just not saying it. So I do agree with you that is something kind of missing out. So, hey, any Survivor execs seeing this, just
name it.
Just put on a little theme. Just
name it.
On there.
No one's gonna get mad. Just name the thing. It's definitely the set design people had a theme they were working with. Like that was discussed. It's all linked.
There is a theme. Just say it.
But let's dive into what was episode 2. I'm excited to have Bailey's thoughts. I'm excited to go through these. A very normal episode for what this show, Survivor Squared, will be as we break down each week of this show. And we want to start off with the ending because each week on Survivor, the beauty of it, we do say goodbye to a competitor. Last week it was Nicole. This week it was Annie, otherwise known as Trashy Annie from the band that she was in. She tried to make moves on her blue tribe and it eventually kind of came up and took her out of it. So we wanted to debut a new segment on Survivor Squared because each week when we say goodbye to someone, we want to remember them in the correct way. We want to remember them fondly. We want to give them the good sign-off that they deserve. We don't have a torch to snuff out on this podcast. My apartment has too many fire alarms for that to work out, but we can individually say goodbye to the players that have left us. So if you would join us for the inaugural Survivor Gravestones. Annie, Bo, Banny. Your Survivor game done kicked the canny. You tried to mess with that blue team bliss, but when you come at Queen Sophi, you best not miss.
Annie, oh Annie, our pleather-wearing lady, you played too hard, too quick, I'm afraidy. The wannabe leader with the lovely pink hair, you tried too hard to mastermind and nobody cared. So back to your sequins and cheetah print tops. Your time on Survivor was one epic big flop.
Oh.
Love you, girl.
And
I'm rooting for you.
That's it for the gravestone for Annie. Sorry. I want to say you were right about Nicole. I was right about Annie. I called her from the get-go. You got to give me some credit for that.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Everything that I did not believe you on, you were accurate about. She came out guns a-blazing, and unfortunately, she missed every shot she took.
Now, we are getting a lot of time with this blue tribe because they are losing a bunch. They seem to be the focus of the first 2 episodes here. So I want to get into how this game is being played with the 3 individual tribes because Annie lost because she wasn't part of that core 4 alliance between Jeremiah and Jake, Alex and Sophi. Annie was on the outs, thought she was on the ins, and it didn't work out. Then we have 2 other alliances on the 2 other tribes that we're starting to see take shape, but let's focus in on the blue team at the jump. This core 4 seems to be pretty together.
Mm-hmm. I think they're super strong. I mean, just the way Jake and Sophi, Jake and Alex, I mean, they seem tight. Sophi and Jeremiah, they all seem like they really have just a good sense of a foundational friendship almost in it. So I think it'll be very interesting now that Nicole and Annie are out to see what happens with this four. If I were to guess, I would say Jeremiah maybe is a little bit more on the outs than the rest of them, unless the guys decide to do an all guys alliance. But I think Jake is too close with Sophi that he's just really going to have her back. I mean, that's been pretty solidified this episode that these two, Jake said, I'll put on the waterworks, I'll fake cry if it helps, but I'm not writing Sophie's name down. And I think he damn well meant it.
I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie. As a big Sophi fan, she was number one in my power rankings. I got a little nervous as that edit was coming by. It was definitely Sophi versus Annie. First off, Alex gets the beware advantage. Alex eventually gets the idol. But in between that, Sophi found the little lockbox and recovered it up with leaves, trying to get it for herself. That's my girl, Sophi. That's my girl.
No.
But I started to get a little bit nervous here. I thought that mold was going to break. So when you say Jeremiah is definitely the fourth out of the four, I agree with you. However, Alex and Sophi seem to both being fighting for Jake's attention here. So could that break up the four first?
Yes, I do think so. I mean, I know I had that same thought as you. I started to get a little like, no freaking way is this going to happen. But however, if Alex had used his idol the same night he got it to save Annie, he would have put a massive target on his back. There's no way in hell that he would go against that rest, that core four already to save Annie. I know he really wanted to have that kind of secret alliance with her, but I think he made the right decision by not using that and also just keeping that in his pocket. Every single person on his tribe knows he had an idol. That's kind of a bold move. That's something I will say I miss from old Survivor a little bit, is the more of the secrecy of the idols. I feel like we haven't gotten that as much in the new era because so many people are so weary of people going off to search for idols. They're not letting people. So therefore, there's always going to be a second or third, fourth, fifth person involved now, which does take away a little bit of the idol play to me. That is something everyone knows he has an idol now. So either that's just going to be a huge glaring target on his back, or it's just going to be something that they're all going to try to utilize. But we're going to miss that secrecy of it, which is something I loved from past seasons.
Speaking of secrecy and going off and searching for idols, that brings us to the Red Tribe, the Uli tribe. Jawan gets caught all the time going to search for idols, trying to put sticks in his bag, and he accidentally puts them in Savannah's bag. It leads to a general conversation that the core four of the Red Tribe seems to be Nate and Rizzo, who have a wonderful conversation with each other, and then looping in Savannah and Yoda on Dagobah, Miss Shannon, crab lover herself. That seems to be the core four, with Jawan and Sage on the outs, at least in the get-go. Did this combination surprise you at all with the personalities that were here? Because I thought it was going to shake out a little bit differently.
I almost thought Savannah, Sage, and Shannon were going to do a little girly kind of, alliance there. And so I'm interested to see that that's not happening. But I loved, like you said, I loved that moment with Nate and Rizzo. And I think to see the difference, too, of like Annie on the other team and Nate both being older and a little bit more on the outside of their teams, we watch Nate execute perfectly what Annie failed at, which is acknowledging that maybe he's not in there and maybe he's a little different, and taking that backseat to just let it happen, to be dad. I mean, we've seen it so many times in seasons past, the motherly, the fatherly role, if the people really lean into that. I mean, we saw it with Eva and Joe. Like, if you really can lean into that, that can be such a strong power couple. So having Riz and Nate have that conversation, I got really excited because I was like, oh, they're going to go. They're going to last. This is a good decision on these two's part. Nate handled that whole situation perfectly, and Rizzo went to the right person. And again, I will always admit defeat. I will always admit defeat. I love him. I love Rizzo. I love him. I was wrong. I misread him entirely. He is so charming. He is so fun. I follow him on social media. He's a blast and a half. He's just happy to be here, man. What a genuine kid he seems like. And that conversation with Nate, I thought, was so smart on his end gameplay-wise. So I'm really, really excited to see where this duo goes and who else they bring in with them. I'm hesitant to think it will be Savannah, but it might be. She seems like she's a firecracker, and we're going to get some drama from her her in the next
I
couple episodes.
I've really been entertained by Savannah. She is clearly the MVP of season 49 to the production team because I think she has more confessionals than everyone else combined. And also, I do love some points of Survivor where things just happen to people. Like Savannah suddenly had a bunch of like scratches and cuts around her eyes, and we're like, where did
What
that come
happened?
from? So
Yeah.
Sophie B's
Sophie's
leg is
leg?
falling off. Like, I also people are going to be mad at us, and we probably should have changed this. We did not do a gravestone for the crab that was lost. We thought it was a
R.I.P.
little bit unfair. They did the gravestone prayer on TV, so I figured that was enough for that
Beautiful
crab.
prayer. If they still did the Sia, money winner or whatever, that would have gone to Shannon. She would have followed in Yao Min's footsteps and honoring the lives lost of the nature. And I loved that. I thought it was such a funny moment.
It was very cute, and it was full. I gotta say, it was fire. It was just full vibes, fully fire.
The
Yeah.
aura was fire.
The aura was fire, and good for Rizzo, man. I hope it does work out. The next Core 4 alliance that we saw is with the Yellow Tribe, the tribe that won the first 2 immunities, the tribe that seemingly can't stop winning. And this Core 4 started as a Core 3. Bailey Buffs is wearing the buff right now. It started off with Matt, Kristina, and Stevens. Kristina, by the way, not getting nearly enough screen time. Every time they show her, she's interesting, and I need more of Kristina.
My favorite Christina moment, I'm sorry, from this whole episode was when she was sitting out at the challenge just going, wow, like screaming bloody murder. I was like, I love this girl. I just love her so much.
Her biggest scream came from when I screamed as well, was MC, the person they bring into the 4th person of this Core 4, just vaults this little ramp wall thing like it was nothing. She looked amazing.
That's the scream I was talking about. That's the exact scream, is when MC just was like, oh, I got this.
Unbelievable. I could have watched that in slow-mo. I could have watched that everywhere. But yes, that Core 4, Matt, Kristina, Steven, and MC. And then MC decides, you know what? I am in 4th. I am in 4th place clearly in this Core 4 and goes over to Sophi, who has surprised me with her gameplay. She was Eva's dark horse. If we're going to play our fantasy draft next week, that was Eva's pick that I should take. And MC goes to Sophi and says, hey, this is what's going on. This is the situation. I am torn. Like the other 2 tribes, blue and red, seemingly have the Core 4 set up and have for a while. Yellow, to me, I still think is an open book.
I'm not sold on it. I even wrote, I was like, that seems like a odd choice to me from almost all of them. To be fair, we've really seen the majority of just blue team and getting to know the characters from the blue team because they've been losing. I am yearning for a little bit more of that yellow team. I want to get to know them a little bit more. But I'm hesitant to think that Steven, Matt, and Kristina are going to be rock solid. And I think maybe that's what MC picked up on a little bit, because MC knew, I'm at the end of this. Let me maybe go see what else is out there. I think Kristina could easily jump ship and go over with Sophie and MC. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. It seems like almost a desperate attempt from Steven as opposed to actually being a bonded tribe and alliance.
And also, we've seen 0% of Jason through 2 episodes, even though he is the puzzle master and has dominated the challenges. He's the reason they are winning, and we haven't seen him at all. But that brings us to a wonderful moment where they had a journey. 3 players are chosen to go off, and it's Jake, Matt, and Jawan. And honestly, people don't know what these journeys are going to be. I was surprised that we got 3 of really the strongest dudes on each tribe going on this journey to sort of duke it out. And it was an awesome challenge. Not a lot of forethought by these guys. I would have gone 2-on-1 to make sure one guy got eliminated, that one guy being Jake. Jawan ends up winning. Jawan ends up winning, and he gets an advantage for himself or an advantage for the tribe, and that advantage for the tribe is a disadvantage to someone else, and that's what he chooses. Bailey, I'm going to ask you 2 questions here. The first one being, Jake, again, is a part of this and is the focus of this challenge. Are you okay with nipple rings?
1,000% give them to me more. I want all the nipple rings.
The fact that he only has 1, doesn't that, shouldn't you get 2?
Jake can do whatever he wants. The tattoos, the nipple ring, the muscles, it's all working for me is all I will say.
Okay, great, fantastic.
If you threw a mullet in, I still would be into it, so.
Well, that goes with your past, Bailey. The second part, though, if you had won this challenge, Bailey, would you have chosen the individual or would you have chosen the tribe advantage?
100% the tribe advantage. It is too early. Everyone already on these journeys is expecting you to come back and lie to them. I think Jawan doesn't even know how beneficial this was for him. I don't think he even realized how much this potentially saved him by making that decision to do the challenge. I mean, to give the a disadvantage to one of the tribes instead of taking the personal steal a vote. If this challenge or these prizes from the journey had been later in the season, might have a different answer for you. But again, this early on, I think that is the way to be solidified with your tribe. And what a disadvantage it was. It was shocking to hear what the yellow tribe was going to have to do.
The only thing that would make me ponder doing something different is two things. One, we saw last year, again, season 48, I'm going to draw a lot from because that was the first season I saw. I believe it was Bianca didn't have her vote for a bit and then suddenly told Cedric she didn't have her vote and then suddenly is voted out because of that reason alone, because she was not a dangerous player. So Jawan could have looked at Matt and or Jake and said, there's a chance to get one of the stronger guys out early. So it's not so much an advantage for Jawan, but I might be putting a target on their back. However, the second part and why I agree with you, the tribe disadvantage was the move, was because we've seen people on journeys lie about their journeys before. No, I didn't get anything, or this happened and that happened, blah, blah, blah. Jawan couldn't lie about this because at the next challenge, he's proven truthful. Like we see the disadvantage, we see what happens. Jeff explains it to us. So Jawan is definitely honest and trustworthy now to his tribe, for sure.
He's absolutely off the hook. And I think that's really smart, Tony. I didn't think about it that way, in less of an advantage for yourself and more of a disadvantage for one of the stronger guys on the other team. However, I don't think it would have been received that way by his tribe mates. I think he could have tried to explain that to them, but they still would have been like, nah, you just did something to benefit you. Very interesting, though, because that's a smart way to look at it, and that would have been a great way to put a target on Jake's back.
Instead, we go with the tribe disadvantage. He hands that tribe disadvantage to Hina. They each have to wear 20 pounds of coconuts for the first two parts of the tribe, and then instead of having one key to unlock this sort of rope puzzle, they have 10 keys that they have to work through. They were mad about this, Bailey.
Ooh-wee, they were not happy, were they? They were sassy. They were eye-rolling. Sophie was eye-rolling. Gosh, if I ever eye-rolled at a teacher or my mom like that, I would have been smacked. Like, that was the eye-roll of the century. They were not, and Kristina was not happy to be sitting out of that challenge either. Yeah, they were pissed, and they made sure to let Jawan know that they were pissed. And of course, blue team is sitting there just like, yeah, we're ready. Let's go.
Yeah, that was very funny to see Sophie dancing about it. But that's the one part that I don't think Jawan realized about this whole entire choice is he cemented himself with the red tribe as an honest and trustworthy person. He made himself an enemy of the yellow tribe. And eventually that's going to come back to bite him if they all make a merge at some point, because he's public enemy number one with that tribe.
To be fair, I think he would have been far more public enemy number one had that not gone the way it had gone.
Right.
If yellow team really, really actually had that disadvantage stop them in any way, maybe yes. I think because they still, came back and were pretty victorious, they were victorious.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll hold it as much against him, but I do think that will be a topic of conversation brought up if we see Jawan in the merge with members of the yellow tribe.
And with this challenge, as you said, yellow moves on, red moves on, blue loses. I do want to shout out the rope bridge. Apparently that was the first time they've had one of these in any type of a challenge. I also want to shout out Rizzo trying to vault it and missing it. I loved it. I laughed my ass off.
My back hurt watching it. He missed that first one and I went, ow. Ow, oh my God.
It was like a high jump, but he didn't clear the high jump. Yes. It was great.
Well, and I also thought that it was so funny because, again, this is a piece of a challenge. We've never seen this before. The suspended rope was so cool. You see the first shot of them running over to it on blue team. Jake immediately hits the deck. And I go, what is he doing? You got to get over it. He was acting as a human footstool to help raise everyone up. I thought that was so interesting to see the different approach from the different tribes to something we've never seen before. I thought that was so smart.
And then digging the ladder out, having to prop the ladder up. The red team, especially Nate, they don't really show it too much, but they're dying. Like, they're hunched over, trying to catch their breath by the time they hit that ramp. The fact that blue team lost this and Sophie and Alex could not put the puzzle together was such an advantage. I thought was a huge red flag. This is when I started to get really worried about my girl Sophi, because blue team's now going to tribal for the second week in a row. The shoe bandits back trying to create chaos out there. There's so
Can
much going on.
can we take a moment?
There's an idol
Why?
involved. We'll get there, Bailey. There's an idol involved. There's chaos happening. Sophie doesn't know which way to turn. We have officially Sophie versus Annie for the last 15 minutes of this episode. One of these two is on the bottom. One of these two is going home. And again, I was very nervous for our girl. But Shoe Bandit. I got Eva's thoughts last week on the Shoe Bandit. What are your thoughts on the Shoe Bandit?
I don't understand it. I have watched 49 seasons of Survivor, multiple seasons, multiple times. I don't understand the mindset here, because he's not actually doing anything with. He's putting it 15 feet away from them so they just get up and go grab it and come back. There's really nothing, no purpose other than just confusion. But I don't think it's going to be as effective as Jake thinks it's going to be. I don't see the point. Maybe you can shed some light onto me of your thoughts of it, but he's not stealing a shoe. He's just kind of slightly inconveniencing people.
I think it would be a bit that would work if there was 10 people in your tribe. The fact that there's 6 to 5 to now 4, the fingers that are pointing around can only point so many places before it's like, yeah, that was me, the shoe bandit. Now, Eva last week on this show said he should steal his own shoe and take the smoke off of him. But even if he does that, there's only so many ways this shoe bandit, like, who's he going to pin it on, if anyone? Or is he going to play it off as, like, I was just trying to keep camp interesting, guys, laugh it off? I will say this, Bailey, he's 2 for 2. He stole Nicole's shoe in episode 1. Nicole goes home. He steals Annie's shoe in episode 2. Annie goes home. He's 2 for 2.
That's what it is. It's a prophecy. Got it. It's not about chaos at all. He's a prophet. Okay, makes more sense now.
So during Tribal, even at the end of the challenge and during Tribal, in between, Sophie, who last week I said it was like she had a team of writers talking for her, because everything she said was like a quotable line. This episode, as you said, we're 5 days in. They haven't eaten. They haven't had fire. Her brain fog is getting the better of her. She's stumbling over her words consistently. They show Jeremiah doing it as well, but really the focus is on Sophie, and it appears that the elements are seriously getting to her. She is bruised and battered, and now her mind is not working as fast as her tongue wants it to work. Were you at any point worried for our girl?
I really was, because I think, as you said, she's been so eloquent. She's been so on top of it gameplay wise, and understanding, the psychology behind the different people and the gameplay and the motives. Watching her just lose her train of thought multiple times in the middle of the sentence when she really needed that tribal, we were all worried, she really needed to stand up for herself. I will say the one moment where I think she did, and that came in handy and was so necessary, was the call out of Annie talking about trust with your teammates. I think her retort back to that was spot on and was very well said. And so I think, maybe she had a brain fog for all of it, but it came through when it mattered. And I think her being able to say that, you saw everyone else on the team really shaking their head when she called her out for that and saying, no, trust does matter. Of course, you can't trust everybody, but trust is one of the most arguably important parts of a tribe, is getting people that are going to have your back.
It is, in my eyes, the currency in Survivor. It's the currency on that island is trust. And Annie, through her confessional, she said that she was the puppet master on this beach. She also referred to the other players as her bandmates. She's the front, she's the singer of her own band. She's the CEO of her own company that fired mostly all of her workers during COVID so she could survive in the company. I called her out from the jump, and we're seeing that in the confessionals. However, on the island, there's always that different personality, the confessional personality, and what it is on the island. Every time we saw her, she was laying down, she was under the tent, she was not doing anything around camp, she was ordering people around, telling them to find certain types of coconuts. They definitely painted her as somewhat of a controlling personality. And listen, CBS is very smart. They've done 49 seasons of this. They know how to edit this show in a particular way that not only paints people a certain way, but also sometimes saves people from being the worst versions of themselves, because they don't want to create really bad personalities anymore. They do want people to come back and play again and be happy with the company. But they did let one slip that I thought was very, very interesting and very telling of the whole thing. This was a purposeful line that they left in. Sophie goes to, I believe it's Jake and Alex, and just to start a scene, like it just smash cuts to them talking, she says about Annie, you know, I think in real life she's a Karen. And that line stuck out more than anything. It made the edit for a reason, Bailey. So I don't think we saw the full Karen of Annie on that island. No. I do think that tribe was never really voting against Sophie.
No, and I think that's the other thing when you talk about the coconuts, and all of them are saying she didn't grab a single coconut herself, yet she is slurping down every last drop, and then not only just taking a little bit and passing it, she took every last drop and went, yep, those are the ones we need. So it was still, again, taking all of everyone else's hard work and then being like, yes, I actually know though that that's the right one. And it just felt so, I don't know. So I hate to use the word narcissistic because that seems aggressive, but very self-involved and very, self-serving, I think is the right word.
I don't think she picked up on social cues very well. I think that's the way I can put it best, is that she is living in her own sort of timeline and everything else going on she doesn't really pick up how other people feel about her. And I also will say, to wrap this up,
she was blindsided. How could you have been blindsided? It was so obvious. She was shocked.
I also will say, to wrap this up, right after Jake says, I'm never writing Sophie's name down, they cut to Jeremiah telling Sophie, I'm writing Annie's name down, and we had the most villainous Disney villain laugh I've ever heard in my entire life.
That's exactly what I wrote down. I was like, he belongs in a Disney movie.
We say goodbye to Annie. We say goodbye to episode 2. We want to every week make some predictions and give out some superlatives on this Survivor Squared podcast. So before we move on to episode 3, episode 2, Bailey, who was the player of the game? Who won this episode?
I'm partial to say Jawan. Just because I think that he didn't realize how much he needed that win. And he was honestly last place in my mind for the journey. I did not think that he was going to take it. And I did think he was going to choose the selfish advantage. So to see him do that, I think he really solidified his place in that tribe way more than we were thinking, or way more than he was thinking. So I'd say it's in terms of really starting low and ending up high, Jawan wins this episode for me with his tribe.
I had the exact same name written down. Jawan is the winner, the player of the game of episode 2. Moving on to episode 3, I'm not going to get too much into the next week on, because I kind of like to stay spoiler free, although there is some type of poisonous snake we need to worry about. Do you have any prediction, Bailey, for episode 3? Who will we be voting out next?
I'm going to go with Jeremiah, unfortunately. I know we roughly talked about this. I don't see blue team coming back from this. I really don't. And I really think that Sophie and Jake are going to stay together. Alex is going to do what they want. There's a slight chance Alex and Jeremiah stay together and Alex uses the idol on him. But I really think we might be saying goodbye to our Disney villain next week. I don't want to. But that's where my gut goes.
We, at the beginning of the year, gave out all of our predictions, and we said when we were breaking down this Kele tribe that they were going to dominate challenges. We were wrong on that. However, the 4 people still left are the reason why we thought they would do really well at challenges. So they're still there. As long as it's not a puzzle, I think they might have a chance. The person I think is getting voted off episode 3 is our girl Sage. I think Red Team is going to lose. They've been this close to losing quite a bit, especially with Rizzo doing just crazy antics back there. I do think they're going to lose one, and I think Sage is going to be the odd girl out, no pun intended on that one.
That's all right, Sage. Come on home. We'll hang out, girl. I'll be your friend. You're hilarious.
But next week is going to be a very special episode. Next week, I have not 1, not 2, but 3 guests coming on here. We are having our first ever Survivor Fantasy Draft. We wanted to wait till there was 15 people left so we can come on here, each draft a team of 3, and I'll tell you how this Survivor Fantasy League is going to be scored so you can play with your friends at home. I'm very excited about it. Bailey's going to have a team. I'm going to have a team. We're each going to draft it, and we'll also break down what happens on episode 3 with Gravestones and all. But until then, Bailey, Don't let your torch get snuffed out. Don't go to London again. Can we actually do a podcast next week? Will you be
I
here?
won't. The flight was too long. I'm going to stay here. I think I'll stay put.